DEI is not there to just change the color scheme and the palette. It's to look at a broader, and by the way, it includes hiring veterans, people of different socioeconomic status. Like, it's not just race or gender. Like, diversity brings a resilience to your organizations that it might not have otherwise.
And I don't think, John, that that's the way it's been implemented across the board in government. And I think people see examples of that, and it makes them paint the entire effort with the same brush.
In his first few days, President Donald Trump is undertaking a deliberate effort to obfuscate and weaponize civil rights laws that address discrimination and ensure everyone has a fair chance to compete, whether it's for a job, a promotion, or education. With these actions, the administration is not only undoing decades of federal anti-discrimination policy, spanning Democratic and Republican presidential administrations alike, but also marshaling federal enforcement agencies to bully both private and government entities, and to abandon legal efforts to promote equity and remedy systemic discrimination. Trump's executive orders undermine obligations dating back to the Johnson administration that firms doing business with the U.S. government and receiving billions of public dollars are held to the highest standards in remedying and preventing bias. So they kind of just summed it up, which is good. And this is I didn't know this is the ACLU's thing before until I clicked on the article. But I think articles like this are beneficial because most people just even getting their news from TikTok or they're seeing it on social media. They're not actually even going into articles and reading what everything says. Because a prime example is when they were talking about cutting some of the federal grants that were kind of going to certain entities or like businesses or what they needed it for, immediately people ran with, hey, well, he's cutting, personal stuff that people already get, Social Security, food stamps, student loans, things like that. And then it came out, hey, we're not touching those individual things. This is more so we're trying to account where this money is going to when it goes to these companies for these grants and things that they say they're using this money for. So a lot of people did not do any reading on that. But this says, how do these orders dismantle decades of federal anti-discrimination policy? So I'm not going to read all this. But Trump executive orders represent a major departure from these policies, particularly in the federal contracting space. One order rescinds Executive Order 11246, a cornerstone of equal opportunity policy for federal contractors that has been in place since 1965 under the Johnson administration without offering any replacement framework. This abrupt shift abandons a measure that has helped dismantle entrenched race and sex segregation in high-paying industries historically close to women and Black and brown workers. It also leaves contractors scrambling to navigate a complex regulatory environment, including federal anti-discrimination laws like Title VII and other laws mandating federal contractors take affirmative action with respect to veterans and disabled workers, all of which remain in place. Let's see. More broadly, the orders seek to intimidate all employers, ranging from private organizations and federal contractors and grantees to state and local entities, into abandoning DEIA initiatives using vague and threatening language to create fear of enforcement actions. The strategy is clear: bully everyone into dropping programs that ensure equitable workspaces by falsely equating diversity efforts with discrimination. Yet, employment, for example, properly designed DEIA programs are not only legal under federal and state civil rights laws and longstanding legal precedents, they are also necessary to ensure compliance with those laws. Compliance with those laws. Programs labeled as DEIA encompass a broad range of lawful initiatives that create fair workplaces and ensure opportunities are limited based on race, ethnicity, disability, sex, sexual orientation, or gender identity. Many of these initiatives are not focused on selecting specific candidates for hire. They aim to create fair processes. For instance, recruiting at underrepresented institutions or ensuring fairness in promotion criteria helps address systemic inequities without disadvantaging any individual. So, yeah, we kind of got the gist of it. There was another article that I found. I kind of broke down DEI, and I'm going to go to it real quick because I was reading it to kind of brush up on my stuff. I kind of like to be somewhat responsible for what I say. So this is a CNN article, and it says, what is DEI? And among 7 DEI experts and industry leaders CNN has interviewed, most have shared a vision for what constitutes the concept. Diversity is embracing the difference everyone brings to the table, whether those are someone's race, age, ethnicity, region, religion, gender, sexual orientation, physical ability, or other aspects of social identity. Equity is treating everyone fairly and providing equal opportunities. Inclusion is respecting everyone's voice and creating a culture in which people from all backgrounds feel encouraged to express their ideas and perspectives. DEI was created because marginalized communities have not always had equal opportunities for jobs or felt a sense of belonging in majority white corporate settings, said Daniel Opong, founder of the Courage Collective, a consultancy that advises companies on DEI. That is the genesis on why some of these programs exist, he said. It was an attempt to try to create workplaces where more or all people can thrive. So, and then you go to this, and I do kind of agree with this, that it seems like more companies tried to get on the wave in 2020 or after 2020, after the George Floyd stuff. And so I think a lot of companies said they were doing DEI, but they really weren't, if you want to be honest. I don't see any difference in all the numbers. And granted, I've had some, I posed that question on Threads, and I had somebody said, hey, they help hire people through DEI, like going to some colleges that they normally wouldn't go to and hire like a lot of good workers. But for the most part, I think companies could just say that they had positions for people doing DEI, but for the most part, they weren't really interested in really enforcing DEI.
I think it's interesting to figure out how is it being measured to determine if it is truly successful. Because I don't honestly know if it is effective, who's benefiting from it. Obviously, I get what the point of it is, but I think for me, just really thinking about how do we measure this? How do we actually understand and know who's benefiting? How do we know it's not helping? Are we saying it's not helping because we're not able to illustrate the impact of it? Did we identify what impact looks like outside of, just assuming? So for me, I think it's a very, very, very layered conversation. And I'm obviously not an expert in that arena. That's not my wheelhouse. But I do think that it's definitely more than just race, which it seems like that's where it's mostly focused in on right now is race and education level. And it's bigger than that.
No, for sure. And I had a thought while I was reading that, and I forgot what I was going to say regarding the DEI stuff. But I know one of the things we're talking about affirmative action, and we definitely know that we didn't benefit the most from affirmative action either. White people, white women benefited from that a lot. So I think it'd be interesting. I just think people, I guess they're trying to feel like, since like a lot of people are uneducated about it, like they're not understanding like, hey, it don't mean hire me just because I'm Black. It means, hey, I just want the opportunity to even interview.
Mm-hmm.
Like opposed to something like in the NFL, they got the Rooney Rule where they're supposed to interview Black candidates or whatever. Granted, now I think we do have a little bit more Black coaches than we used to, but the Rooney Rule seems outdated too, because it used to seem like at one point in time they just were interviewing Black people, said they interviewed them, and they didn't have any, they didn't have any cause that they were actually going to hire them. And I know my job seekers who were in the chat, they probably felt like that too when it came to getting jobs. They probably felt like, man, these people don't really want to hire me. They just talking to me just because they said they were.
Yeah. and I feel like there is so much space in between what each individual organization's DE&I goals or objectives, mission, values as to what it means to them and what they are actually focused in on versus it being more of a framework that you can follow to be more diclusive, to be more diverse and inclusive in your organization. So I just feel like maybe we didn't need to cancel it. Maybe we need to figure out some more stuff to make it better.
Bet. And I'm actually like, let this video play real quick. Wow.
Like, why do we assume that the so-called meritocracy, the way that things were done in the past when America was great, was an objectively meritocratic system? It wasn't. It's rigged. It's always been rigged. It's more rigged by that than any measure of bringing on somebody whose experience for the position maybe slightly more unorthodox.
And my argument to you is I don't think it makes it any better to just rig it in a different direction. And I think that's what people perceive was going on with DEI.
It's not rigging it in a different direction. It's unrigging it. That's my point is
but that's where we disagree.
So as you can see, they was actually disagreeing on that, but my guy was really on point about it. Let me take this banner down. And we also got a super chat. Remember, guys, if you want something for us to stop and act in the live stream, leave us a super chat. So